Not every spiritual spouse you can separate. And also, not every spiritual spouse is inseparable. There are some spiritual spouse you can actually separate. Yes. The spiritual spouse, there are two categories of spiritual spouse. I want you to get this clear. There are spiritual spouse contracted by spirit to spirit, whereas there are spiritual spouse contracted by human to spirit. Now, the spiritual spouse contracted by spirit to spirit are the kind of spiritual spouse that you contracted when you were in the spirit world before you took flesh. It is just like the way human marry in the physical. There are people that in the spirit world, where they descended to this gross material world, they had spirit spouse. They got married actually. They had spirit spouse. Some even have children. Now, it became a consensus, an agreement between you and that your spirit spouse that you want to embark on journey to the earth, to the gross material part of existence. And there was agreement between you and that your spouse. Now, this kind of spirit spouse is spirit to spirit contract. It is spirit to spirit because as at then, you are still pure spirit. You have not taken flesh. And the spirit spouse itself is still spirit. This kind of spirit spouse, now, with the agreement between the two of you, you now embark on journey to this earth. Part of the agreement is that you should from time to time check up on her or check up on him. And the way you check up on him or her is through aja, through communion. These are the kind of spirit spouse that you cannot separate from. What you do is frequent appeasement. Frequent appeasement. And this kind of spirit spouse, your relationship with him or her is not such that you cannot marry in the physical world. Because being that there was an agreement between the two of you, he or she know that you are embarking on a journey to the physical part of existence, and that when you get here, you are still going to mingle with the beings within this physical existence, just like you mingled with him or her in that spirit world of environment of existence. So him or her is going to allow you, when you get here, you are coming like someone going to market. He or she is going to allow you to transact, to trade, to do every activities that normal people do here. But on the condition that you should always check up on him or her through aja, through communion. From time to time, you see him or her visit you in dreams. This kind of spirit spouse are the spirit spouse that you appease for peace. You appease them and they allow you live your life. They bless you, they watch over you, they protect you from the beyond. Him or her from there will be seeing you 24/7, but you can only see him or her when you are in the spirit, like in dream or in trance. That is the only way you can see him or her, because the plane where you are is lower in comparison to the plane where he or she is. Onye nọ n'elu na-afụ onye nọ n'ala. Onye nọ n'elu na-afụ wider view. Mana onye nọ n'ala nwere limited view. This kind of spirit spouse you cannot separate from. It's not even possible to separate from. But the kind of spirit spouse that you can separate from are the spirit spouse that were contracted between human spirit relationship. Human spirit relationship. Now, I have treated some cases on my desk whereby some parents went to contract some deity like water deity or water spirit for children, for fruit of the womb. Now, when your parents went for this contract, it was human and the spirit contract relationship. And let me tell you, let me shift this in before I continue. Each time you go to the water to pray, to ask for anything, mind you, you are going there to awaken some spirits in accordance with what you are asking for. Each time you go to the water to ask for a favor, you are going there to align with the particular spirit in that water that aligns with what you need, what you are asking for. Water is an embodiment of spirits, of energies. The energy you take with you when you go to the water is dependent on what you carry within, your intention, your desire, and of course, the material you go with. Now, back to what I was saying. When some parents go to the water to ask for fruit of the womb, like a lady was telling me that her father went to the water to pray for a female child. And the result of that prayer is herself. So eventually, she came of age and started having visitations of what she referred to as spirit spouse. The spirit spouse will tell her that I paid your dowry, you are not going to marry another man. You are not going to marry another man. I paid your dowry to your father. Because of what? It was her father that actually went to the river to ask for female child. Now, her father went to that river to pray for female child, and the male spirit came. Remember, positive, negative, positive and negative charges always come together to spark up the light. When you are asking for a male child, a female spirit will come to complement what you are asking for it to come to reality. When you are asking for a female child, a male spirit will come to complement what you are asking for you to have that female. Remember, that is necessity for life, for spark. Now, that spirit spouse is human spirit contracted. It is not spirit contracted. It is human spirit because the person's father contracted that spirit while in the flesh. It is human spirit. Now, it is that kind of spirit that in most cases must necessarily be separated for the person to be able to pair up with another charge in the physical existence. Like the lady I'm talking about that I'm currently treating her case, the spirit spouse is telling her that she cannot marry another man because he already paid her dowry to her father. Paying the dowry to her father, is actually that his masculine energy have actually complemented with her own feminine energy to spark up the light, which is her. So he paid the father with his own masculine energy in order to beget the female child. That energy he paid to spark up the light, which is now that lady, the new light, is actually the dowry he paid to the father, a legitimate dowry. Now, this kind of spiritual spouse, in most cases, if it is not severed, separated, no, appeased and separated, that spirit spouse cannot allow that lady get married to another man. Yes. So that is the kind of spirit power that is separable. You can separate. But before you separate, you have to appease. That energy, that spirit, invested to spark up the light, the new light, which is now that female child, must be returned, must be replenished, must be paid. That is the appeasement. You appease and then you sever, you separate. If you separate without that appeasement, there will be problem. So, any spirit spouse that is human spirit contracted, that is spirit spouse that you contract while in the human. Like I said in my previous station, there are ways people contract spirit spouse while in the flesh. It is not every spirit spouse that is actually pure. Not every spirit spouse that is purely contracted spirit by spirit. Some are human and the spirit contracted. And the human spirit contracted, there is a need for separation. There is a need for separation. For the physical partner to be free, to be able to pair with another opposite sex. There are ways, there are activities that human beings undertake with spirits that result in espousal. That is, in contracting spirit spouse. That is why I always say, going to the water to pray is a beautiful thing. But be careful with which intention, with which vessel you go to that water for that prayer. You see, many people today that are into tradition, into ordinary, Igbo, African spirituality, they actually got their spirit spouse by their activities with the spirit. Now, take for instance, maybe you don't have spirit spouse. You were not formally married in your spirit world before you came to this physical. But by your dealings with the spirit, by your going frequently to the water to perform heavy rituals, you have contracted spirit spouse for yourself. Like I said, anytime you go to the river, to the water, to perform serious ritual, to ask for favor, there is always a spirit that arises from the water to grant that your request. When that spirit arises and grant that your request, it becomes contractual, because that spirit that grant that your request must be appeased. That is, there will be contracts. Now, the spirit have fulfilled its own bargain by giving you, by making sure that, by sparking up the light to grant you your request, there is a need for you to fulfill your own, to balance it up. Until you balance it up, that spirit spouse remains. You understand what I'm saying? So some people actually contracted their own spirit spouse by themselves while in the flesh because of their unguided rituals, their misguided rituals, especially water rituals. Water is emotional energy. That is why it is very easy to contrast spirit spouse by going to the water for rituals. It is very easy to contrast spiritual spouse by through going to the water to perform rituals, especially when you don't have spiritual spouse already in the spirit before you came to the flesh. So, how to separate yourself from that spiritual spouse that you contracted yourself or your parent contracted on your behalf? Like this lady that the spirit spouse was telling that I paid your dowry to your father. Now, how to pay back that dowry? Onya bụ ihe a na-asị ka eje kwuchigha ngọ. Ka eje kwuchigha ngọ. Ngọ enwere ike ikwuchigha bụ ngọ anọ na mmadụ welu nata. Ọ bụla ngọ anọ na mmụọ spirit to spirit wee contract. Ị na-aghọta ihe m na-ekwu? Ọ bụla mgbe ọbụla a na-aga na mmiri ka eje chụọ aja na mmiri ka ọ bụ nọọ ngọ ka a gara ekwu. Ọ bụrụ na your spiritual spouse bụ spouse that you contracted while you were in the spirit world without the intervention of your parents that are in the flesh, that is pure spirit to spirit and spousal. Nke a anaghị akwụchigha ngọ ya na mmadụ. Ife atọ na a ga-akwụchigha ngọ nke ahụ, ọ ga-abụkwa na mmụọ. Agbara m ọnụ. Ebe ọbụla ị nọ welu initiate any contract, ebe a ka ị ga-anọkwa wee kwụọ ụgwọ ya. Yes. Ebe ọbụla ị nọ welu initiate welu daba into any contract, ebe ahụ ka ị ga-anọkwa were kwụọ ụgwọ ya. Onya mere that na ọ bụrụ na mmadụ bisie ụwa mana o nwere ihe mmetọ metagasịrị n'idere correct in this world, onye ahụ na ọ ga-eshi atakwa to that place ọ nọ wee commit those things ka o wee nwee ike atone for them. You cannot contrast spiritual spouse, spirit to spirit, where flesh was not involved, and you tell me that you can nullify it wearing flesh. Although possible. It's not possible. So, Anna, why that spirit power that you contract while in the flesh, there is a need for you to appease it. Which that ngo ahụ ọ na-asị na ọkwụrụ your father or ọkwụrụ your however ọkwụrụ by granting your request. Yes, maka na ọnya bụ dị ngo ọkwụrụ by granting your request ga kwuchigha ya. Ikwuchigha ya, then you intentionally separate, because that na ikwuchigha dị ngo does not automatically mean separation if it is not intended. So have the intention and perform a rite, a ritual for separation, to separate it. So that is it. And like I said, before you separate, you first of all appease. Ị ga-ebugodo ụzọ kwugodo ya okwu ijie tupu ikwu eziokwu separation. So I hope I have covered this aspect of the teaching. And let me quickly chip in this before I conclude this session. Oblongman niile nwere spirit spouse. Most people that go to Alpha and they are being told about spirit spouse, it is not actually spiritual spouse that Alpha is seeing. Alpha is just seeing the spirit from the water that is hovering around you based on your contract. Dịka m gwara gị na mgbe ọbụla ị ga-ana mmiri to ask for any favor or to perform any ritual, a na-enwe spirit that rises from the water that grant that your request or that follow you about to see, until that your request is granted. and it is always on contract. Now, some people have gone to water for appeasement, several appeasement, and because of all these appeasements, ha gotta go a lot of spirits. Ma mmụọ nwoke ma mmụọ nwaanyị. Eje na afa dibịa wụọ afa, a na-afụ mmụọ nwoke si from mmiri, ma a na-afụ mmụọ nwaanyị si from mmiri, asị na spirit spouse. Ọ bụrụ mmadụ niile nwere spirit spouse. And the most people that actually have spirit spouse, not all spirit spouse are spirit contracted. Some are spirit human or human spirit contracted. And any spirit spouse that is human spirit contracted, nya na-ade enwewe skosko. Nya na-ade enwewe, because human inclinations have been involved. Otocha hozi pure. Mana hardly kega full spirit spouse that is contracted spirit by spirit. Genyen sobu as much. Now spirit spouse na carrying sobu, but spirit spouse are the human spirit contracted. Spirit spouse are contracted by your misguided rituals, or maybe by your parents' dealings with the spirit and all that. Onya nke na-aka enye nsogbu, obi okpeshiri. Emesha nta meyi mo ya peace chaya okpeshirikpa. Such spirit spouse, ọ bụ na peace chaya, try ya ka separate ya, perform one ritual for separation. Egbuto mgbugbo. That is, egbuto ihe ọbụla jikọrọ gị na ya. Egbuto ya. Onye ọbụla agawala onwe ya. So go today. Not every spirit spouse is inseparable. Some are separable, while some are inseparable. So ela na saraka nkwo, I na every nkwo, saraka ndemli I na every nkwo. Saraka ndemli is not one of the ways of contracting spirit spouse. It's not one of it. Henceforth, ọ bụrụ na dibịa na-akpọ gị na-aga mmiri, mara ife a na-eji emerụ gị na mmiri. Mara ihe a na-eji emerụ gị na mmiri. Ọ bụrụ ife niile ijekwu dibịa ọgba afa asị na ya eme ka a ga-eme. Some of you na-eche na ịba court mgbe ịbịa dibịa akpọrọ gị asị ngwa gị bịa ka ị join na court ọ na many people join court in the water without knowing it. Ebe a na-achụ aja achụpụ achụ ahụ. Ị na-achụ aja ka business wee na-aga, ị na-achụ aja ka i wee nụọ dị. Instead of ịchụ aja ka ife na-eme gị dị mma, a na-achụnyekwu gị mmụọ n'ime. Ma mmụọ dị njọ ma mmụọ ma mmụọ dị mma. A na-achụnye gị ya n'ime. Ebe a na-achụ aja. And agbago nge. Your dealings with water energy, let it be, of right intention. And mgbe ọbụla ị ga na mmiri, mara ihe ị na-aga dị ị game. And ị ga na mmiri ọbụla ị gara, kaba alụ fọ na ịkpọkuru chi gị. Kaba alụ fọ na ịkpọkuru ezumezu mmụọ niile so gị. So that these will form shield to protect you from any wandering spirit. Maka na ifolo mmiri, ife dị na mmiri erika. Ife dị na mmiri erika. Ọkwa ihe onye chọkọf. Ekenekwa ya ma ọnụ. Join us in our every Nkwasaraka. Chat me on WhatsApp on 08032477868. My name is Ezinwa Anaedo. I come for the total restoration of ordinary no men and Igbo. Watch out for our next episode.